Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Elliott. Donald Trump has a commanding lead in the overall delegate count and has immense support among GOP voters. But new numbers now suggest that the majority of Americans simply don't like him. A new national survey shows that almost 70% of Americans have an unfavorable view of the Republican frontrunner, and that figure includes nearly half of Republican voters. But that sentiment is not reflected in New York's latest poll numbers, as you can see here. With just under 2 weeks to go until the primary, Trump is soundly ahead of his opponents in New York. The latest Real Clear Politics poll average has Donald Trump, in fact, up more than 30 points, as you can see, on his rivals in New York. Here to discuss it all and much more, former Republican presidential candidate, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator, good to have you here. You did get something of a chuckle out of those numbers. What was the reaction?
Think twice about what you're about to do in New York. I know that Donald is a successful businessman. He's entertaining, to say the least. But if you're a Republican who cares about winning and changing Washington for the better, don't vote for Mr. Trump. He's going to get creamed.
I want to, there's the electability question. The electability question I want to get to you with, but I want to also ask you about a tweet you sent this past Tuesday, arguably Donald Trump's favorite medium. Following Ted Cruz's defeat of Trump in Wisconsin, you stated flatly that Trump's gibberish was now catching up to him. To what were you referring?
So I just got back from the Mideast. I met the leaders of Israel, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt. The place is melting down. I want a replacement for Obama's failed foreign policy. I listened to Mr. Trump's view of how to handle the world problems. I think we need more allies, not less. He thinks Putin's, a good guy. I can do business with Putin, and talks about withdrawing from NATO. There's a religious war in the Mideast, all over the world, really, between radical Islam and the rest of the faith. When he says, let's ban all Muslims because something going on over there, tell the King of Jordan, who's a great ally, the people, the President El-Sisi of Egypt, how that must play for them. So he doesn't know anything about the war, because the last thing an American political leader would do is try to declare war on the faith itself.
How does it play for them? What did they say to you about Donald Trump?
What's going on in America? I reassured them that he's an outlier within our party, that he'll never be president of the United States, and this idea of declaring war on your faith is not where most of us are at. We're all trying to work together, people within the faith and throughout the world, to destroy ISIL, because it's ISIL against the world, and the Muslim population in the Mideast are the ones who are going to win this war. They just need our help.
That's a look at the macro. Looking at the micro for him, meanwhile, there are now reports of a reorganization within his campaign, the hiring of Paul Manafort, perhaps with an eye towards a likely contested convention. What do you make of the reorganization?
I think they're beginning to realize this thing is slipping away. Again, to New York Republicans, I didn't even get a T-shirt out of running, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But I do know this. I really do believe that the Republican Party's future is at stake. That Mr. Trump doesn't represent the Republican Party that I'm familiar with, that he's not a reliable conservative. Look at his background, that he's not going to bring about change to Washington, that his policy ideas are gibberish, and they're actually dangerous for the world at large and here at home. Among Hispanics, the Republican Party has been shooting itself in the foot. The idea that we're going to deport 11 million illegal immigrants, including their American-born children, takes a problem we have with the Hispanic community and makes it worse, because the families are intermingled. So if you really care about the future of conservatism and the Republican Party, do not let Donald Trump carry a banner. That's why I'm for Ted Cruz.
To that point, you, in saluting Cruz for the win in Wisconsin, you seemed also in that tweet to salute the Never Trump movement that seemed to coalesce in Wisconsin in a way we hadn't seen before. Beyond the demographics of it all, then, what do you think that said that night about the Never Trump cause?
I think it's growing. And I think that people like me forming an alliance with Ted Cruz gives
I should mention, a man that you've called an opportunist, a man that you said in choosing between the two, it would be choosing between being shot or poisoned.
Well, maybe we can get an antidote to poisoning. It's hard to get an antidote to being shot. Let me tell you about Senator Cruz in all seriousness. I think he is a Republican. He's more ideological than I am. I've had a lot of tactical disputes with Ted, but I think he's a reliable Republican conservative. He's run a hell of a campaign. He's been the most effective opponent to Trump. and to Republicans. If you jump over Ted Cruz and John Kasich and Donald Trump and you try to parachute some new person into the system, you will destroy the party forever.
But you yourself, you said on CBS this morning that you think John Kasich is more electable. The numbers seem to suggest that of the three remaining Republican candidates, John Kasich is the only one who defeats Hillary Clinton in a general election. To his point, the Ohio governor has said, I'm staying in, thinking that we're going to get a contested convention, that this is going to go to the delegates who will then see if they want a Republican president come the fall, that they are going to have to get behind the one person the polls suggest can actually beat a Democratic nominee. Why then Cruz and not Kasich?
Well, number one, John Kasich is a wonderful governor, a good guy who I think would be a great nominee and a great president. This is an outsider's year. He's won one primary. Ted Cruz has been the most effective voice for the movement within my party that I'm going to respect, that we need to try something new.
But is it your belief that Ted Cruz can beat Hillary Clinton, as the polls suggest John Kasich can?
What I'm saying is that if you jump over Ted Cruz, that part of the party, which we should listen to more, you're going to lose Trump no matter what you do.
You called him and his supporters interlopers, that they're not
there are a lot
around.
of good people who are frustrated, and there's some people who maybe not so good supporting Trump. The bottom line here is, it's pretty obvious to me that the party, the people who show up by the millions, are wanting something other than Lindsey Graham and Jeb Bush. John Kasich's run a really good campaign, but he is not as effective in carrying that message. I don't see how he has nearly the compelling case to be the alternative to Trump as Ted Cruz.
The math is becoming more complicated for Donald Trump.
Yes. Let's hope so.
If he does not
listen to this, New York.
If he does not get 1237, if we do see this contested convention that a lot of people now believe, I know you just need 4-to-1 odds in Cleveland come July. Charles Koch, according to a recent report, said that he actually believes that if that convention were to be contested, he believes that House Speaker Paul Ryan would be a shoo-in there. Reince Priebus has said, though, that he believes the eventual Republican nominee is in the race right now. That is a wide gap simply within the party at present. What do you think is going to happen?
To those who underestimated the Trump movement, don't make two mistakes. Don't repeat the same mistake in underestimating what would happen if you tried to bring somebody outside the process that no one's voted for, who I think Paul Ryan would be a great president. I wish he had a run, quite frankly. But millions of people have taken time to go to the ballot box, cast their votes, the highest turnout in the history of the Republican Party. You want to destroy this party? Have 2,000 people, in the name of winning, set aside all those votes. I'm trying to find the most competitive person in 2016 to win an election I think we can win that will not destroy the party. If you jump over these three, you're going to destroy the party.
So, and again, you don't think that's John Kasich, even though if I'm a Republican voter right now in a general election, the math only favors, according to the polls, John Kasich, not Donald Trump, and not Ted Cruz.
Yeah, that's the dilemma we face. John Kasich, I'm more ideologically in touch with. I think he would be a really, again, a great candidate. What's going on in my party? There's got to be some respect about what's going on in my party among people like me. Ted has won multiple primaries, clearly the best alternative in the primary arena. So the goal is to make sure Trump doesn't get to 1237 because I don't think he's a reliable Republican. He'd destroy the brand forever. If you jump over Ted Cruz, who represents more the heart and soul of the party right now than I do, or John Kasich, I think you're going to destroy the party.
So we know what you want to happen, what you hope to happen. What do you think is going to happen in Cleveland come July?
That Ted Cruz will be our nominee if Trump falls short.
You do?
And I hope John Kasich would consider running as vice president, because he would be a hell of a vice president choice. He'd be a great nominee.
Do you think he's somebody that Ted Cruz would want as?
I have no idea.
President?
You just asked me what I want.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I ran for president talking about how to defend the nation and solve problems. I embraced bipartisanship where it makes sense. I'm not the most ideological person in this 17-person field. But Ted Cruz has been able to put together a campaign that has, quite frankly, been brilliant. And the fact that people like me and Jeb and others are coming to his cause doesn't mean we don't like John Kasich. It means that we see a movement in our party that has to be respected. If you jump over that movement, too, I think you're going to fracture this party forever.
Have you warmed to Cruz as a candidate beyond his strategic acumen?
Yeah, I think, you know, he rejected ban on Muslims. His foreign policy is much closer to mine. He's rock solid on Israel. He really would repeal and replace Obamacare. And when it comes to conservative judges, I think he really would pick conservative judges. And I can't say any of those things about Trump. So, yeah, Ted and I have a lot in common. But we also have some differences, too, mostly tactical, but they're real.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you about that trip you took. You mentioned this tour of yours. You're now seeking an emergency appropriation of multiple billions of dollars to help with the aftermath of the fight against ISIS in that region, Egypt, Lebanon, Jordan. That's obviously a massive number. Befitting the problem that you saw?
We spent about $1.4 trillion in the war against radical Islam. Our best ally in the region is Israel. Their border on the Golan Heights with Syria has completely melted away. ISIL is within miles of the Golan Heights, Israel territory. The Sinai is on fire. ISIL is occupying part of the Sinai, which is a nightmare for Egypt. Egypt needs to move forward on the human rights front, but Egypt is in the fight. The Libyan border has deteriorated. I worry that if we don't help the Egyptian security apparatus and we don't get some money into the Egyptian economy because it's starved for hard currency, I expect LCC to up his game in terms of human rights and dealing with this NGO issue. But this is an emergency, my friend. We're talking a couple of $2 billion that will help Israel defend two borders that have deteriorated. Lebanon and Jordan are hanging by a thread. One of our best allies in the world is King of Jordan. In Lebanon, there are more Syrian refugee kids in primary schools than Lebanese kids, and it's getting worse. The war is not going well. If we don't shore up our allies right now, they may not make it through the end of the year. I don't want to spend money, American taxpayer money, unless I know we have to. And I'm just telling you, if you care about these allies, now's the time to help them.
All right, Senator. I do want to get you to, if we could take a single of the senator, switching gears yet again. If you flew on the flight.
Okay, all this stuff in the Mideast is important.
Yes.
Who will be president? That's all important. But I've got the wrong jacket. We're not going to fix the world unless I get my jacket back.
All right.
So if you were on the shuttle, the 3 o'clock shuttle
from Washington,
D.C. to LaGuardia, I was sitting in 2F. You have a Ralph Lauren jacket, so do I. I have your jacket, you have mine. Call me. I'm in the book.
Reach out to the proper authorities.
And I apologize for my jacket being so dirty.
Senator,
if we get this right, everything else falls in place.
Senator Lindsey Graham, we buried the lead. Very much appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Senator.